Map, filter, and reduce are very useful whenever we wanted to do some data transformation, and very widely used techniques whenever we wanted to do data transformation. So watch the video till the end so that you can able to understand very clearly about map, filter, and reduce so that you can code effectively. So having said that, welcome to the series of everything you need to know about Python in simplest possible way. Let us start our video with a map. So map is a function that will transform each element in a iterable. So let us go ahead and first understand the syntax, and after that we will understand clearly about how map works with an example. So when it comes to syntax, we will be having a map. Map is nothing but a function which is inbuilt function by the in the Python. So now in this function we will be given two arguments. One is a function. So inside of this map function, we will be passing a function. So after that, it will take a iterable. So in this iterable only, the function will perform some operations. So as I have previously mentioned in our previous video about lambda function, a function can take arguments as a function. So that is what the case here. This map function will take the function as argument. So this is about the syntax of map. So with example, we will understand more clearly about map. So let us go ahead and understand the map with example. So what I will be doing is that I will take a iterable that will be commonly used for all of this example, or for all of this method, all of these functions, map, filter, and reduce. So now I will take a list here. So I will represent this L. L is nothing but a list which is considered as iterable, right? So now in this list, I will take a simple example 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So in this iterable, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 values inside of a list. So that's it. So we will use this same iterable for all of these examples. So let us go ahead and understand how map works. So for that, we need to have a map, and after that, inside of this map, we need to pass some function, right? So that is what we will be passing using lambda function. We can pass any function for that matter. In this case, first we will understand with the lambda function, and after that we will understand with a named function. So now what I wanted to do with this map function is that here in this list we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So I wanted to double each element in this list. So every element in the list need to be doubled. So that is what I wanted to do here. So for that reason, what I will be doing is that I will mention a lambda function. So in this lambda function, I will take this element. So I will mention element here. This element will come from this list only. So what I wanted to do with this element is that I will multiply this element by 2 here. So this is what the doubling, right? So we are doubling this element by 2. That is what we are getting from each element in this list. So after that, what I will be doing is that I will pass this L here. L is nothing but iterable, right? So if you compare this syntax and this example, we are having a map, and after that we need to have a function. So in this case, I am taking the function which is nothing but lambda function here. So if you don't know about lambda function, watch my previous video about lambda function, by which you can able to understand very clearly about how lambda function works. So lambda function takes arguments and will return the result in terms of an expression. So this element into 2 is an expression, that is what it will be returning. So after that, we are having iterable, that is what we are having using this L here. So this is the map here, and if I execute this, so we are getting name L is not defined because we are not executed this. If I execute this, so if I execute this one more time, so you can see map at, this is the memory address that what we are getting. So by this, what you can able to understand is that this map will only return a function. So this is a function, right? So this is nothing but a iterable. So the iterable means as like a list, this map is also a iterable. So in order to get the exact values, we need to convert this iterable to any iterable. So what I mean by that is that, let's say if we pass this iterable to list, we can get all the elements, right? If we pass this iterable to tuple, we can get all the elements inside of a tuple, right? So for the time being, I will go with list here. So I'm mentioning this whole iterable, this whole function inside of a list here. And if I execute this, you can able to see now we are getting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So previously in this L, when we are passing, we are having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Each element, if you could observe carefully, 1 became 2, 2 became 4, 3 became 6, 4 became 8, and 5 became 10, which is nothing but a doubling, which is nothing but multiplying the value, right? So that is what we are getting in this whole list. So that's it. In this way, we can able to transform each element in a iterable with whatever the desired condition that we are mentioning. In this case, I am mentioning multiplying with 2. Because of that reason, we are getting the double of each element. Let's say instead of 2, what I will be doing is that I will take this same example. So I will modify a little bit. So instead of doubling, I wanted to square each element. So for that, instead of mentioning 2 here, if I mention element one more time here, so I am multiplying the element with the element again. So which is nothing but a squaring of element, right? So if I execute this, so we can see the result. 1 became 1, 2 became 4, 3 became 9, 4 became 16, 5 became 25. Each element in the iterable will squared, right? So 1 square is 1, 2 square is 4, 3 square is 9, 4 square is 16, 5 square is 25. That is what happening for each element in this iterable, which is nothing but L here, right? So I hope you can able to understand that, right? So now we are taking this lambda function as a parameter, right? So instead of lambda function, if you got any confusion with the lambda function, or if you are performing some larger operations in this function to do transformation, we can directly pass the function itself. So I will explain with the function as well, so that you can able to use the functions also when you are calling lambda a map function. So for that, let's say I am mentioning, let's say double here. So double is a function that I wanted to take. So for this doubling only. So first example that what we have seen, right? So that is what I will be explaining in here as well. So in this double, what I will be taking is that I will take a number here. So instead of taking number, I will take the same element. So this element will get from this iterable. So after that, I will just return element multiplied with 2. So that is what we are doing in this case, right? So now I will copy this whole thing and I will mention this here. So instead of this lambda function, I will replace this lambda function with a double function. So I will mention this double here. So now if I execute this, so I have executed this, and if I execute this, you can able to see we are getting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So we are replaced this double, this lambda function with the double function. We are getting the same result because we are multiplying with 2, and that value will be returned. Let's say if I mention 3 here, and if I execute this and this, you can able to see each element in the iterable is multiplying with 3, right? So that is what the result we are getting as a list here. So I hope by this explanation you have understood clearly about map function. So map function, what it basically do is that it will transform each element in an iterable with a desired function that what we have mentioned. So map function takes two arguments, one is function and another one is iterable. So this function, inside of this function only, we will be representing whatever the transformation it need to be happen to the iterable. So this map function will return a iterable. In order to get the iterable inside of a list, tuple or set, we need to pass this whole map function to that iterable. So in this case, I have taken list so that we are getting the result inside of a list. So I hope by this you can able to understand clearly about map function, right? So let us go ahead and see one more function that we have, which is nothing but filter. So what this filter do is that this filter will filter the iterable based on some condition. So let's say if I have a list and if I wanted to filter all the even numbers, so we can do that using this filter. Let's say if I have some list, if I wanted to filter all the odd values, we can do that using this filter. So this filter, we don't need to process this even or odd by using this specific function. We can do this process by simply inside of a loop or inside of by mentioning some condition, right? But that's kind of a verbose, that's kind of a very lengthier program, and when let's say in future if you are referring the same function, same process, you might got some confusion. So by mentioning this everything inside of a filter, you can able to quickly understand what the process it is happening. So not only for this, even for map, filter, reduce, all of these things we can implement without these functions also. But by having this convention of map, filter and reduce, this will be very professional and this will be very widely used techniques so that you can able to adapt. So let us go ahead and understand the filter. So as I have mentioned, filter is used to filter some values based on the conditions in the iterable. So first understand the syntax of the filter. So for that reason I am mentioning filter is a function that we have. So this filter will take two arguments as like the map. First it will take function and after that it will take iterable. So function is whatever the functionality that we are mentioning. So that functionality will be applied on each element in the iterable. So based on that, it will return the values. So let us go ahead and understand with the example. So previously, I will take the same example, which is nothing but this list to this filter also. So by which you can able to understand more clearly. So now what I wanted to do with this filter is that I wanted to get all the even numbers from the list. So that is what I wanted to do. So let's say if you got any confusion about list, so I will take one more time L1 here. So instead of this, I will take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 here. So we are having some even values, we are having some odd values as well, right? So now I wanted to get all the even values that we can do using this filter. So I am mentioning filter here. So we need to mention a function, right? We can mention lambda function or we can mention any named function. So for the time being, I will be going with the lambda function. So lambda, so after that, we need to mention some process, right? So what is the process? We need to get the element from the iterable. After that, we need to check some condition, right? What is the condition? We need to check the element is even or odd. So by doing that, so how we can do is that element modulo divisible by 2. So modulo divisible by 2. So that is what the condition that I am mentioning. So after that, equal to 0. So I am mentioning this will become true if the value is even. This becomes false when the value is odd. So after that, I will mention the iterable, which is nothing but L1 here. And if I execute this, so this is not executed if I execute this first, and after if I execute this, so we are getting a filter which is also an iterable. So previously we have seen a map as an iterable, right? So this filter is also works similarly. This is also written a iterable. In order to get the exact values, we need to pass this to any iterable. So now in this case I am passing this to list here. If I execute this, you can see the result. We are only getting 2468. Out of these all values, we are only getting 2468 because these 2468 are even values, right? That is what we are checking the condition inside of this lambda function if the element is even or not. So we are mentioning this need to be even. That is the reason we are only getting even values, which are nothing but 2468. So by this, I hope you can able to understand how to filter the iterable and get the exact filtered values in a list or any iterable. So I hope you can able to understand the functionality of this filter. So here we are passing function and iterable. So this function will take the elements from the iterable and do the process. So we can mention lambda function or we can mention named function. So previously I have explained with named function, right? That we can do with this filter also. So I hope you can do that as well. So by this, I hope you can able to understand how we can use a map and filter. So let us go ahead and understand one more function, which is nothing but reduce. So what this reduce do is that it will reduce the whole iterable to a single value. So what that means is that let's say we have all the elements inside of an iterable. Let us consider as a list. So now what we wanted to do is that let's say if we wanted to find the sum of all the elements in the iterable, let's say product of all the elements in the iterable. In that case, we can use this reduce and we can do the process. So simply we can understand this reduce is that in order to get the single value from the iterable, we can use this reduce. So let us go ahead and understand with some example. So before that, first understand the syntax. So we need to have this reduce. This is like, so this reduce we cannot directly get this. So this reduce is present inside of a module. So that's module which is nothing but from fun tools import reduce. So what I am doing is that from functional tools, I am importing this reduce. If I execute this, So we are getting this reduce. So by this, what I wanted to say is that we cannot get this reduce directly as like map and filter. So map and filter are inbuilt and we can directly use map and filter, but whereas reduce is not directly available in Python, and we can get that reduce using these functional tools. So I hope you can able to understand this. So we will discuss later. This is considered as a module, and inside of this module we are getting this function. So we will discuss more detailedly about modules and how we can import in our coming videos for the time being. So this is a library, and in this library we are taking something, this function. So you can consider this is a library and we are taking some kind of a book here. So we wanted to read this book, we wanted to utilize this book. So you can able to understand in that way. So this is a module and we are getting some function here. So now what I wanted to do is that I wanted to mention this reduce. So I am trying to explain the syntax first. So after that, what we can do is that we need to mention the function. So as like in any other functions, we have mentioned, we have taken argument as a function. In this case also, in reduce also, we will be mentioning a function. So after that, we will be mentioning a iterable. So this is work similarly for all of these functions that what we have explained in this video. So we will take argument as function and we will take this iterable as another argument. And after that, this is the syntax, this is the function which is reduced, and we will take the function as argument, we will take iterable as another argument. So now what I will be doing is that I will try to explain you with an example. So we will take this same L1 here and we will be summing all the values in the L1. So first we will add all of these values and later we will product all of these values, we will multiply all of those values. So for that I will be using reduce, and after that we need to mention a function, right? So now I will be using a lambda function. So after that I need to take element, right? So from this iterable we will be getting each of these elements. So we cannot directly go with one element at a time, so we can go any number of element that what we can go with. So we will be performing operations, right? We will be reducing that. So what we can do is that we wanted to find all the elements sum. In that case I will take two elements, element 1 and element 2, and by using this element 1 and element 2 I am adding all of those values, and finally we can able to get the sum of all the elements in a list. So to do that I am taking two elements here. We can take three elements, four elements, for that matter I am taking two elements in this example. So after that what we can do is that we can mention element 1 plus element 2 here. So that is what I am doing in this function, in this lambda function. So after that, what I will be doing is that I will be mentioning, so one second here. So now what I will be doing is that I will be mentioning the iterable, right? In this case, I am taking the same iterable that what we have used previously, which is nothing but L1 here. So now what I will be doing is that, so I hope you can able to see this clearly, right? So we are mentioning this function and we are taking this L1 here. So if I execute this directly, we are getting 36, which is sum of all the elements present inside of this list. So let's say if you wanted to understand more clearly, I will take one more simple list here so that you can able to understand more clearly. So for the time being I will take L2 here, I will take 2 3 4 here. So 2 3 4 here. So I will replace this L1 with L2 so that we can able to compare and understand more clearly, right? If I execute this, you can able to see we are getting the result which is 9. 2 plus 3 which is 5, 5 plus 4 which is 9. So that is what the exact result that what we are getting. So here in this case we are adding the elements, right? So I will take this same code here. Instead of adding, I will take the multiplication here. So I wanted to multiply each elements inside of this list here. So that is what I am mentioning using this multiplication symbol. And if I execute this, you can able to see we are getting 24. So 2 multiplied by 3 which is 6, 6 multiplied by 4 which is 24. That is what we are getting as a result. So I hope you can able to understand how this function, how this reduce works. Reduce will return by performing operations in the whole list and give a single result. So that is what we are getting in this case, which is nothing but multiplication, and in this case we are adding all the elements inside of a list. So I hope by this explanation you can able to understand these functions which are map, filter and reduce. So these are very useful whenever you wanted to do some transformation. So I hope you can able to understand more clearly. So let me quickly wrap up what we have discussed in this video. So we have started our discussion using this map. So map will transform each element in a iterable to some other form, some by some operation. So that is what we have seen, and this map will take two arguments. One is function, another one is iterable. We can pass the function as lambda function or any other named function for that matter. We can pass any iterable. In this example, we have taken a list here. So after that, we have seen filter. So filter will filters the elements inside of a list or any iterable for that matter based on some condition. That is what we have seen here. We have seen how to filter the elements are based on the some condition, which is nothing but even here. We are getting all the elements which are even from this whole list here. So after that, we have seen a reduce, how this reduce works when we given a iterable, how to get a single value by performing the operations on that iterable. That we have seen, right, using addition and multiplication, sum of all the elements in the list and product of all the elements in list. So I hope by this you can able to understand clearly map, filter and reduce. So that's it for this video. In the next video, we will discuss about nested function, a function inside of a function. So we will understand more clearly about nested function in our coming videos. To stay updated with my latest videos, subscribe to this channel and turn on the notifications to all so that whenever I upload any video, you will get the notification. So thank you for watching this video. See you in the next one.